And look, if you feel purposeful in your role at work, I'm applauding. Power to you. That quote, true calling. But here's the key. It's not just about knowing what you like. It's also about knowing what you don't like. It's about paying attention to what draws you in. What are you pulled towards? Right? If you can't think of anything, you're not alone. And that doesn't mean you're lost. Here's another path you can explore. If you clicked on this video or are listening to this podcast, chances are you're asking yourself, what is the meaning of life? Or how can I find the meaning within? If you're anything like me, I too have asked myself this question. Welcome back to Heyyy Titi. I'm your host, Titi Jessie. This is a space where we grow together, learn from each other, and take a little time to reflect on life, love, and everything in between. If that sounds like your vibe, take a moment to hit the subscribe button, like this video, and share with a friend. I wanted to make this episode because this question, what's my life's purpose, has been a reoccurring theme in my life. It's one of those questions that sneaks in at the weirdest times. You know, like those moments in your life when you just pause and think, what am I doing with my life? I can clearly remember one time in my mid-20s, I had just come home from a rough day at work. I was making dinner, nothing fancy, you know, just some comida de los podres, como lo llamamos los boricuas, o los puertorriqueños. Just making some rice and beans, you know, typical food. And suddenly I was like, is this it? Is this my life? Like, is this how it's always going to be? And that moment hit me. Like, what's the point of all this? I didn't have the words for it back then, but that was one of those first real encounters with the deeper question of, what's my purpose? So, you know, I did the modern thing and, you know, rather than go speak to my therapist, I turned to some of the top podcasters to find some answers. Podcasters that you may have heard of course, Mel Robbins, Shetty, Andrew Huberman, and y'all, I listened to a lot of episodes. Like, this wasn't a one and done. These people have catalogs on the topic of finding your purpose. This episode isn't to praise or critique them. It's just to pull together some of the gems they've shared and reflect on what stuck with me. Hopefully, it'll save you some time and give you something to chew on. And as I was listening to those episodes, again, many episodes, I really found that there were so many things that they had in common amongst one another. And I put together a little list of what they have in common, or at least the things that stuck out to me the most. And to start off, first of all, you are not alone. For as long as humans have existed, people have attempted to find their purpose. Finding your purpose it's kind of like one of those choose your own adventure books. Depending on who you listen to or what information you're provided, there's no single right way to find your purpose. You just follow the path that you feel works best for you. And along the way, you figure out what really matters. Those paths to finding your purpose are found in every experience you have lived, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and can lead to finding your purpose. Finding your purpose may not be aligned with financial gains. That may be hard to hear because we may have heard or be of the thought that doing what you are passionate about, like a lot of people say, will get you to have a life where you feel like you are never working or that you'll feel more fulfilled. But according to all the top mainstream podcasters, your purpose will only feel like your purpose when it aligns with serving others. You know, this kind of reminds me of those moments when you hear financially successful people say, The money never made me feel fulfilled. And you know what? Listen, I'm not going to lie. Money is important. We need it to live, to feel secure, to take care of ourselves and our families. But when it comes to purpose, to feeling fulfilled, that's a different story. Finding a sense of purpose that truly fills you might mean detaching from the idea that purpose will automatically bring you financial freedom, or that your job is your purpose. I mean, with everything going on in life today, especially it being 2025 and all the things that are going around in the political atmosphere, do we really think our jobs are meant to fulfill us? I don't think so. I think that was a lie, like some sort of propaganda that was fed to us as children so that we would just be happy to go to work. And look, if you feel purposeful in your role at work, I'm applauding. Power to you. That just means that you may have done some of the things that we're going to be discussing in this episode. And if we're still chasing purpose only with a paycheck in mind, we might miss the deeper thing our soul is actually looking for. Before we get into what the podcast greats say about finding your purpose, let's take a step back and define it. Because sometimes we throw words around so often, like purpose, fulfillment, meaning, that we forget to actually sit with what they mean. So let's kick it a little old school, take it back to grammar school, open up our little dictionary. Webster's dictionary is my preference, and find purpose. Purpose is a noun. And yeah, that took me right back. Well, what? A person, place, or thing? Yes, it's a person, place, or thing. But in this case, purpose is a thing to be attained, not something that you can touch or check off a list, but something that you can move. It's something that you can move toward, a reason, a direction, a why behind what we do. That shift made it click for me. Like when I heard that, it really just brought it into realization for me. Purpose isn't some grand, magical, mystical thing you stumble upon one day. It's something you grow into. You don't have to have it all figured out to start living with intention. So how do we find it? Yeah, you remember when I mentioned that choose your own adventure of finding your purpose? Yeah, well, let's go down this rabbit hole a little bit with Mel. Mel Robbins states that purpose isn't a sock. She's so like tongue-in-cheek. Like it's not a sock. Like what do you mean? Like you could just go to the store and go down the aisle and purpose on aisle 6. Like no, it's not. It's not, or another object that you can just decide to go and get. Rather, it is something that you figure out by trying things, following what interests you, and trusting yourself along the way. Mel continues to tell us to look for things that bring us joy, make us feel alive. Mel is getting us to focus less on finding our purpose and rather telling us to live. I have to say, telling people to live, just live your life is a little more difficult, a little more nuanced than that. But I have to agree with her. How do we know what our purpose is all we do is hyperfixate on finding the capital P purpose. We have to focus on living and finding out what we truly enjoy doing. Not sitting here and contemplating I can't wait for the day for my purpose to find me. No. For some of us, it comes naturally. It just happens for them. Qué bueno que te pasó a ti, because sometimes I'm still looking, I'm searching, te lo estoy buscando. But really, it happens. It really doesn't happen right away for most people. Some people is early in their lives. But purpose can take time. For some, it can take years. Now, you may not be entirely sure what you like yet, and that's okay. to further this point from a more scientific lens, I want to share something from Andrew Huberman's podcast. One of Andrew Huberman's guests named Robert Greene said something that like really stuck with me. Something that, I mean, even when I was in school, I heard about, but you don't tend to lean on these things, right? It's something, for instance, that we have to look back on and really explore. Something that isn't supposed to appear all at once. It takes time, it takes exploration, and most importantly, it takes self-reflection. We might have to do a whole episode on what self-reflection means and how to do it, but one of the tools he referenced is from a psychologist named Howard Gardner, who talks about the idea of multiple intelligences, right? Just not your run-of-the-mill, everyday academic-based ones, which those can be intelligences too. But Gardner says that we're all born with a unique sense of intelligences, gifts that go beyond just academic. Things like go beyond academics, such as like storytelling, learning languages. You could be real. That would be such a gift. That would be so cool if I could just like listen to a language and just pick it up. I mean, I guess I'm dual language. That's just pretty cool. But some of us can like really remember information. I'm not directionally inclined, so I don't have that directional intelligence. And some people could just be like, oh yeah, if you go north and no, put the GPS on, like that's not an intelligence for me. But that's another type of intelligence. Or even just playing with words, poetries, puns, persuasion. That would be so amazing. I think I'm good with words, but those being able to really be persuasive in that way, that is an intelligence. And all these can be real strengths, real gifts, and often they show up when we're really young. And if we think about it, doesn't that make sense? Think about how little inhibitions we had when we were kids, and we were just like living life, trucking through life, living. Well, we also didn't have many cares in the world. We were kids. And especially if you were blessed with certain things in your lives, like you really just lived life. And you didn't really hold yourself back from doing things or exploring things or taking on new adventures. And Greene suggests that by reflecting on our childhood interests or natural tendencies, you can begin to uncover your quote-unquote true calling. But here's the key. It's not just about knowing what you like. It's also about knowing what you don't like. It's about paying attention to what draws you in and what drains you. What I found interesting about both Mel and Robert is that they both affirm that we all have the ability to find our purpose, but it rarely comes instantly. In fact, it might take years, it might shift, it might evolve. You might think you found your purpose and then later on fall out of love with it, which is totally normal. That comes with growth. But we have to be mindful. We have to be willing to slow down and ask ourselves, why am I drawn to this? What makes this interesting to me? And what gives me energy? And while you're figuring it out, please don't forget to live your life. Finding purpose doesn't require everything to be on pause. Actually, it's the opposite. By leaning into what comes naturally, by staying curious about your interests, and by taking action, key phrase, taking action, even just small baby steps, you can create the space where your purpose can begin to form. Now, if you're fixated on timing, right? We all want to hustle and get to knowing what we're supposed to be doing. That's when it starts to feel a little heavy, because we want, in this time of instant gratification, we want to be able to just reach out and grab our purpose. But we have to be wary of this sensation or this want or this desire to just fulfill it and know it, because that pressure can turn into self-doubt, imposter syndrome, or even anxiety and depression. And that pressure can make you feel like you're like behind or like you're missing something. It's kind of like when you're dating, right? And you're doing everything right to find the one, but it's just not happening. So eventually you stop forcing it. You start pouring into your own life, investing in yourself, and enjoying your own company. And what do you know it? When you're not focused on finding love, love finds you. And I know I didn't call it this magical, mystical thing. Notice I said that you're still working on yourself and you're doing things for yourself and you're moving with the hope of finding love. And then all of a sudden, you find love. Let finding your purpose be the same. Let it arrive. But create the environment for it by living fully. Instead of saying, I need to find my purpose, maybe shift it to like, I really like doing this thing, or I'm really good at doing this. I want to learn more about this. Let those small curiosities guide you. See where they take you. Because not doing anything, waiting for the big answer to arrive, can lead to a life that feels stagnant, unfulfilled, and disconnected. It's going to take some time. Mel Robbins shares how she didn't find her purpose until she was in her 40s, while balancing a career, raising a family, and dealing with financial stress. Robert Greene, on the other hand, talks about always knowing his passion, but not truly discovering his sense of purpose until much later in life. So whether you're someone who feels like you've always known or someone still's trying to figure it all out, it's okay. There's no one timeline. I can tell you that. I'm currently trying to explore my purpose by exploring new avenues, looking at new things. I mean, I'm in a career that I've shifted so many times within, and I'm still trying new things to attempt to find something that feels more fulfilling for me. And I'm leaning into an interest. This right here is my interest. Sharing knowledge, helping others, feeling purposeful in aiding someone in something that I learned or listened to. That is me exploring my interests. And if by you leaning into your interests and innate abilities sounds like a starting point for you, I've put together a few questions that, I've asked myself these exact questions, especially after reflecting on the podcast, that might help you start reflecting too. Let's walk through them together. So, one of the first questions I would ask myself is, what have I always been drawn to, especially as a child, that makes me feel alive or makes me lose track of time, right? This question can really help you uncover your natural passion, and it activates that energized inner child within you. And it could be something that you were always really good at as a kid, and now you're kind of just rediscovering again. And it may reinvigorate you to really go down that avenue. Do it. Try it out. Put it into action. Another question I've asked myself is, what do people consistently come to me for? Right? Or what strengths do I use without even thinking? Things that you probably also realize that it is a strength of yours. This can point to your unique gifts. What sometimes is called your zone of excellence. The stuff you're naturally good at. Now, maybe you're listening and thinking, I don't know, I'm not sure what lights me up. I've never really felt pulled toward anything. And that's a natural inclination to say that, because when you're told to think of something, well, for me personally, sometimes when I'm told to think of something or feel something, I'm like stuck for a second, and I may overanalyze it, but really, truly, like, what are you pulled towards? Right? If you can't think of anything, you're not alone. And that doesn't mean you're lost. Here's another path you can explore. Don't just look at your passions. People always tell you to look into your passions, the things you love to do, your innate things. But what if I told you to also look at the things that you struggle with or things that have brought you pain? Sometimes purpose isn't born out of what brings us joy, but what we've survived, from what's broken our heart, from what we've struggled to understand or overcome. Those may be something that may have happened to you physically, mentally, socially, emotionally, maybe even spiritually. You might have been through something and experienced that pushed you into a dark place or exposed you to injustice or grief or hardship. And because you went through that, you see the world differently. You understand that pain, and that makes you more compassionate, more driven, more aware. For example, take something like anxiety. And Mel Robbins has many episodes on anxiety. In fact, she talks about her own experiences with anxiety. And I realize now that I'm talking a lot about Mel Robbins, but she is one of the number one podcasters in this realm of self-help. And I did rely a lot on her episodes, but just follow along. In the Mel Robbins podcast episode, How to Find Your Purpose and Design Your Life the Way You Want, she and Dr. Martha Beck talk about how anxiety can actually be a signal, a message that we are out of alignment with who we really are. It's not always just fear, it's feedback. And as someone who has experienced anxiety and I'm still overcome very anxious thoughts and moments in my life, that was something new. Like it's giving you feedback, your anxiety. When we're ignoring what truly matters to us, anxiety can show up as a sign that something's off. And when we stay stuck in that place, trying to feel ready before we move, we end up spinning, right? And I'm aware of me telling you to try and do it anyway, go. I can understand that can cause feelings of oh my goodness, the unknown, and you just try, I'm going to do it anyway, and all these anxious thoughts and feelings. And I understand that it can lead you feeling like you're spinning. But clarity doesn't come from waiting. Clarity comes from doing. From taking one small step at a time, even when you're unsure, even when you're scared. Because what if you take that step being scared and something amazing happens? Or you prove your self-doubt wrong. You were scared and then you did it and you were successful. Like what? I was scared to do that. Try it. And that's what Mel emphasizes. We build confidence by taking action, not by waiting for the perfect feeling to show up. So whether your purpose is rooting in your gift you've had since you were a child, or whether it comes from healing through a struggle, know this. Purpose doesn't need to arrive perfectly packaged. It needs space, it needs curiosity, and it needs movement. You don't have to feel ready. You just have to begin. But that pain, it also made you more compassionate. It made you pay attention. And now, maybe you feel drawn to something bigger than yourself, a cause, a story, a community. You might feel called to advocate, support, or show up differently because you've lived it. And that purpose, that's purpose beginning to reveal itself. Not because you had it all figured out. But because you listened to what your life was trying to tell you. So if you find yourself struggling, find your purpose, I have to find my purpose, maybe try asking yourself the following questions. What is my anxiety or discomfort trying to show me about where I'm out of alignment with myself? What is my anxiety trying to show me about where I'm out of alignment with myself? Analyze your anxiety. What past struggles or experiences have deepened my compassion and sparked a desire to serve or advocate for others? And finally, what's one small step I can take today, even if I'm unsure, to move closer to living with intention? And to take this even further, let's talk about what Jay Shetty adds to this conversation. In his books and podcasts, Jay makes it clear your personal success might feel good, right? Those are the things that we really, or the things that we are really inclined to do, those things that we find interest within. He says that those things might feel good, but that alone is not your purpose. So if you're drawn to something that brings you wealth, that's pretty good. That's great. That might be amazing. I mean, again, financial savviness and all, it would be silly of us to say that the money doesn't matter. It does. But purpose, that sense that brings you some sense of fulfillment, purpose can't only be self-serving, because the physical rewards, money, titles, things, they only satisfy you for a little while. They only bring you those short-term fulfillment. But true purpose has to leave you with something deeper. Fulfillment, contribution, impact. Jay says this beautifully. Passion is for you, but the purpose is for others. So, okay, purpose isn't just doing what you love. It's using what you love in a way that helps others. Across his work, Jay outlines a few key truths. Purpose is about service. It's not just about success. It's about contribution. Purpose evolves. You don't have to find it in one big aha moment. It grows over time. Purpose is rooted in intention. So ask not just what you want, but why you want it. And if it's financial gain, it will bring you short-term feelings of fulfillment, but it won't last. That's the shift. The more you give, the more clarity you gain. That's when passion starts to feel like purpose. So if you're exploring this path, ask yourself, how can I use my experiences, challenges, or talents to positively impact others or solve a problem I care about? Because purpose grows best where passion meets service. Or so Jay Shetty says. So yeah, if you take anything from this episode, let it be this. There's no true one way to find your purpose. No magical moment where everything clicks. And no timeline you have to follow. Your life isn't one-dimensional. And your purpose won't be either. It's layered. It's just like you. It might show up in your hobbies, in your struggles, in the things people always come to you for, or in the moments that break your heart and open your eyes. The truth is, your purpose is probably already hanging around in your life somewhere. You just haven't fully noticed it yet. So, instead of stressing over finding it, start living it. Be curious. Try new things. Follow the little sparks. Show up for people. And most importantly, show up for yourself. Because after all, this is for you. Keep checking in with what feels real, what lights you up, and what keeps pulling at you. That's where your purpose starts to take shape. All right, my friends. Thank you so much for hanging with me today. I hope this conversation gave you something to think about. Maybe even something to feel. If it did, do me a favor, subscribe, share this with someone you love, and leave a review. I'd love to hear what landed for you, what all the things we talked about, what avenue or what choose your own adventure path you're going to take. And I want you to share those comments below. Until next time, keep growing, keep living, and don't stress. Your purpose isn't hiding from you. You just have to go and find it. Nos vemos, familia. Adiós.